Guys, look at this. This is a beautiful spring salad. It's got the chickpeas, it's got some peppers in there. Those are sweet peppers. Tomatoes, got some feta cheese, shallots. It has a bit of anise in there and some cilantro. This is just loaded with goodies. I tell you what, give this a try. You also got some avocado and put some cucumber in it. Fantastic tasting. Wait till you try this wonderful salad. You're going to be hooked on this one. Well, hello. Welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're going to be doing a wonderful salad, and I decided to call this just a spring salad. Even though it's not the spring mix, you know, like the leafy greens. This is a salad in celebration of springtime. It's also really good for Easter. Put this with some duck or something like that. Oh man, you got something fantastic. But let me show you what we're going to do here. We have all of these beautiful fresh ingredients for our own special spring salad. Now what we have here is an absolutely wonderful variety of ingredients to make a fabulous fresh salad with. Back here I have some garbanzos, also known as chickpeas. Now I took 1/2 of a cup of dried chickpeas and cooked them up, and that took, well, you have to soak them first, but the cooking itself only took about an hour and a half. They're perfect, they're tender, and have wonderful flavor, and this is about a cup after they're cooked. Over here I have about 1/2 cup of cherry tomatoes, some both yellow and red. These are going to be wonderful. Some people call these grape tomatoes because they have more of a grape shape to them. Here we have feta cheese, and once again I've got about 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup on that. I like cheese, so I added a little bit extra. A little bit of salt in this, not much, just to bring out some flavor. Here I have some cilantro. This is going to be one of our leafy greens that we use in this, as well as leafy green over here. This is fennel, and we're going to use the greens off of it rather than the bulb on this one, so I picked one that had a nice furry top to it. Back here I have a cucumber and an avocado. I'll be using probably about 1/2 to slightly more of this cucumber, all of the avocado, and I wanted an onion-like flavor, but I didn't want it too oniony. I didn't want it to overtake these other wonderful ingredients. So I've chosen a shallot instead. This is a nice good-sized shallot and should yield more than enough for our purposes. Back here I have some sweet peppers. If you wanted to use a bell pepper, that'll work fine also, but these wonderful, colorful sweet peppers I knew was going to set this dish right off. Now for our dressing we need usually an oil in some sort of an acid form. Now in this one I didn't want to use vinegar, I have chosen lime juice. I have 1/4 of a cup of lime juice here, and we're going to be using olive oil with that. Generally when you go with an acid to oil combination, it's 2 parts oil to 1 part acid, okay? So always remember that, and that'll help you out in your ratios. Now let's get on to preparing all of our ingredients to put this fantastic salad together. Okay, let's go ahead and get everything prepared. Now when I'm working on stuff like this, I like to go ahead and glove up, and that way I can quickly move right on to the next thing without having to wash my hands. I just pull off the gloves and move right on. Now, also, it's a good clean way to handle things. It makes it easier for y'all to see exactly what I'm doing with my hands. Now, I would like you to know what we are doing here when we're making a salad. Whenever we're preparing a cold dish like this, in the French terms you would be calling this a garde-manger. Okay, garde-manger is G-A-R-D-E M-A-S, hold it, M-A-N-G-E-R, I'm sorry, garde-manger. Forgive me, sometimes my spellings are a little bit weak. I'm a Texan, what can you expect? Anyway, garde-manger is actually the person who in a kitchen prepares all of the cold dishes, salads and things like that. Often it is done in a cold area in professional kitchens, and that is to, of course, prepare the ingredients in cold environments so that there's no bacteria growth or anything, and it's much safer. The chef that's in charge of that would also be called the garde-manger, because that is his job. So it's also the station name as well as that job name. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and cut up this cucumber, as you've seen, I've taken about 60% of the total length of the cucumber. See there, this one's much smaller. So I got it just a little bit smaller and on the fat end. And that way, I'm going to get exactly what I'm wanting. I'm looking for less than a whole cucumber on this dish. Now what I want to do is just to go ahead and make some simple slices with this. Notice how I put that finger on the opposite side? Now let me explain to you what I'm doing there. First, I'm grabbing this blade right up here and rolling my hand around the handle. I do that a lot. Sometimes I grab it back here, but on things where it matters and my hands are close, I want to grab it up close so that I don't have blade roll. Now I'm going to be cutting this lengthwise like I've been doing here, but when you see me put my finger on the other side, I'm simply holding that piece of vegetable in place as I slide the knife back along the board. My finger never comes in contact with anything on the blade, okay? It's just holding the food. You can reduce the occurrence of sticky food if you will go ahead and pre-coat your blade with a little bit of oil, okay? And that makes life a little bit easier when you're doing stuff like this. Now, I'll have a little bit bigger pieces from this, a little smaller pieces from that. That'll work fine. I simply want to make some nice little cross cuts. Now, when I'm doing this, if you will notice the hand in the back, fingers like this, the thumb is in the back. It's behind these things because it's kind of keeping control on the back of the vegetable. The idea of keeping the fingertips themselves curled under keeps you from cutting your fingers, and then this knuckle right here becomes your guide for the side of your knife. So you can much easier guide and control what you're doing this way. Isn't that beautiful? Once you get used to it, it'll go very smooth for you. Now, as we see here, we have about a cup of that chopped up, diced up cucumber. Exactly what I'm looking for. This gives a fresh, spring-like, almost melon rind-like flavor to a salad. What I like about a cucumber is it's got that melon rind kind of edge to it. Which sounds kind of weird to say it that way, but if you get right down to it, that's exactly what we have going on there. That melon rind flavor. So, to this, we're going to go ahead and add in our avocado. Now that we have finished up with our cucumber, let's take a look at this avocado. Now, avocado is really neat, but they need to be kind of dark and slightly tender to the press when you touch them. Also, when you pull back on this, it should be light in color underneath there. Sometimes there's bruising in an avocado, which can leave dark spots inside of it, but that's about the only problem that you should normally run into. Although, you know, when you're opening up an avocado, I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. So, there we go. That looks beautiful. Now, removing that pit is quite simple. Drive your knife into it and then give it a bit of a twist. Just very simple, like that. See there? Came out right on my knife. Now, if I want to go ahead and slice these up in such a way that they're diced up and really nice and even, I can do that with them right inside of their own skin. But I have to be very careful. It's very easy to slice through that skin and into your hand. So when you're doing this, please, utmost caution. You should very clearly feel a scraping of the skin on the tip of the knife, and it feels something like dragging a stick across sandpaper. It's reminiscent of that. There we go. Now, on this, I like to use a simple spoon, and I'll scoop this out, and I want to put it right up into our bowl. So I'm going to slice with that spoon. That's all there is to it. Isn't that easy? So I've cut it and removed it with just the greatest of ease. There we go. So now I've got my cucumber and avocado in there. Moving right along, let's go ahead and take our shallot. Let's remove the top of the shallot, not the root end. Whenever you're working with onions of any kind, leave that root end intact. It helps hold things together, but also it will weep more from the root end, especially on onions, where it's going to make you cry. Now, shallots don't generally do that for most people, but they can. Good and clean. And that outside layer, right on the bottom here, looks extremely thin. So what I want to do is pull it off. So right there, how thin that is. That would have caused me some problems because it's not very pleasant to get onion or anything like onion that's too thin. Now on this, I want good thin slices. Using that same cutting technique as before. There we go. Now it's getting a bit difficult to handle, so I'm going to get a flat side, just like so. And there, we've made it a little more stable to finish that up. Now, more than enough shallot right here, but I want to break it all apart, so I'll have these lovely little pink rings all through my salad. There we go. Our onions, right down in there. Excellent. Let's move right on. Our peppers. Now, sometimes inside of peppers you're going to have little veins that run down from the crown up here, and so you'll need a smaller knife to cut those out. You see how we have here? So what we want to do is to take a paring knife and run it right up in there along the ribs. There we go. It's being stubborn. Sometimes these cores will do this. There we are. What I'm trying to do there is just get out some of that center part. I don't really like the look of it too much. Now if you'll notice, what I have here is these beautiful colored rings that don't have any core in them. Let's go ahead and get the last of our cutting done. I'm going to be taking these beautiful tomatoes that we have here, and I want to split each one lengthwise, just like so. It doesn't have to be a pretty job. They don't have to be even or perfect or anything like that. Just split each one. There we go. My large knife will be easier for me. Now you get used to using a certain knife a lot. Difficult things to hold and work. That's why you want a nice sharp knife to be able to get that cut just perfect, okay? Now, let's go ahead, put those down into our salad. Some more of that color. Beautiful spring color. We need to go ahead and process our greens. And what I want to do here is just very simply on this cilantro, I just want to pick it free. So basically I don't want a lot of stems in this, but I do want the leaves. Alright. Now, same thing on this. I'm going to break off this and then just take these very gently, remove them and place them into our herb mixture here. And this, what I'm calling fennel, is sold in American markets as anise most of the time. There we are. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I have a good amount of my greens. Let's go ahead and get our greens down in this bowl. Beautiful. Alright guys, let's go ahead and finish up this beautiful salad. We're going to place our cheese right down in here. Our garbanzos, chickpeas if you prefer. Now, all things like this need a little bit of salt, but remember, if you've salted those garbanzos, they're not going to be needing just a whole lot of extra. And if you have that feta in there, that's going to be salty. It certainly isn't going to need any cheese. It's going to add to it also. So you're going to be gentle with the salt to begin with. And I'm trying to break a piece of feta in half here. There we go. I'm going to place a little bit of this lime juice and sprinkle it over the top here. About 2 tablespoons of it. Our olive oil. And if I use 2 tablespoons of that lime juice, I should want about 4 tablespoons of this olive oil. There. Let's give this a good stir. Tell you what, this is looking beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the color, the blending, harmonious blending of color and vegetable. And one thing's for sure, there's only one way to know whether or not you have your salad prepped properly. Let's just go ahead, dig into some of it, get some of that flavor, and find out. I'm asking myself, do I want any extra salt? Do I want any extra acid? And I do. I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of that lime. And just a little bit more olive oil. Another stir. And just a tiny bit of salt, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon at the most. Man, flavor just popped in my mouth when I bit into that. Now what we have going on here is, of course, not just a beautiful harmonious blend of flavors, but you have a marinating that's occurring. So this actually needs to sit, and it needs to sit refrigerated for about 25 to 30 minutes before you go ahead and serve it. So go ahead, get this thing advanced, or ready in advance, and then get it in the fridge. That way it's ready when you need it. There it is. Beautiful. It speaks of spring too. Think of this, all those fresh colors, the leafy greens that we put in it as herbs. Oh man. Oh God. This is delicious. Wait till you folks try doing this. You're just going to be floored. Man, everything in it. The sharpness of the lime sets off all of the other flavors. A little bit of salt just brings them out, makes everything sparkle. It tastes so fresh and clean. Absolutely fantastic. It has this balanced flavor. Everything in it stands on its own. Nothing is overwhelmed. Perfect salad. Give this beautiful salad a try. And thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking Today. To my subscribers, I would like to give a very special thank you to you. And if you haven't subscribed, well, goodness sakes, what are you waiting for? Please do. You folks have a good day. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.